I think that's our opportunity to just get these things in front of people who care about the topics and the artists and the creators and want to see content created that is not put through the filter of the recruitment and retention funnels of Disney Plus, Hulu,
Mm.
Netflix, HBO, Discovery. Like it's just they're not filtering through the right thing.
I find it interesting that you've still maintained the core of what makes a good movie, which is a professional, a professional creative doing a task that they have been honing over potentially many years that they're very, very good at. It could be writing, it could be editing, it could be directing, whatever that is, but still getting many people to participate in that. So it's not about co-directing or co-editing, it's about co-facilitating this.
So it's a film studio that's owned by the filmmakers and the fans. But what we do, and we're actually defining DAO a little differently than I think a lot of the DAOs that have shown up so far. Right now, a DAO is a bunch of people who have a particular vision for some kind of some kind of collective action that they're trying to take, but then they need to figure out everything. How do they run it? How do they govern it? How do they fund it? How does all of that work? We think that there's a different definition for a DAO that is a larger number of people taking a smaller defined action. And so what people do when they're a part of Studio DAO is very simple. We greenlight movies and we watch movies. We think that's like the essential piece of it. So we're stripping away a lot of the other difficult tasks that you might need to engage to build the DAO and setting that up at the beginning. So when you join, you will have implicitly already funded one movie, and then there will be additional movies that are brought to the DAO for greenlight by the DAO. And it's as simple as that. Then there will be some other fun activities around it, which are like, we're going to do some of the stuff that you normally do when you launch projects to the public, but we're going to do it for our internal audience first. So
Mm.
there will be, you know, it sounds silly, but it's super fun. We're going to be making custom ice cream flavors for every single movie that we develop. And the process of figuring out those flavors, voting on them, and then getting access to them. So we're doing this with Morgenstern's Ice Cream in New York, who's like also very going deep down this rabbit hole with us. And like those kinds of things. So we think there's big decisions as a member of the DAO, which films should be a part of it. And then there's smaller, more fun decisions because our like I said at the beginning, collective action is the thing that we're trying to pull together. So and we're doing that partially because it's a way for the audience to express itself in terms of what kinds of films do we want to see made. But we also think it's fun just to have those collective actions around what should the ice cream flavor be for this particular movie and how do we go and create that collection over time.
Mm.
So it really becomes something that has a lot of different touch points into the culture. Together we're going to find movies that either aren't getting made or have had difficulty getting made because of the content, because of the topics, and bring that out to a global audience for a different format of greenlight. Like a one really strong example of that. That's, I don't know if you've seen the movie Get Out. Right, that's the Jordan Peele film. Um,
Yes.
Incredible movie, like incredible movie, but not very difficult to get greenlit because the topic, the international sort of film community that would actually need to say, I want to distribute this film in these countries, it's too American. It's too specific. And so we think that that content actually people around the world will love it, but there's something in the current distribution mechanisms for how film gets greenlit that filters out certain kinds of ideas. So we think that, you know, by creating a method for collective action that doesn't have national borders, is really just a reflection of the global appeal of those ideas, is going to basically let us make something that will be a really unique kind of film library over time. And I think that's incredibly motivating to the team right now to help start something that will be more true to our humanity. And like when you see a great movie that really cuts through and is not tied up with, you know, toys in your Happy Meal or something like that, that's real. That's our vision, is that we're going to create a 1,000,000-person greenlight committee at the heart of Studio DAO,
Mm.
and getting to those million people, that's going to be the most dangerous audience in the world, because they're going to be able to greenlight their own content. They're going to have rights in certain other pieces of content, and just nothing like that has ever been created.
This is the clever thing: the using the Web3 technology unlocks the ability for people to have ownership. And when I own it, it's now not your movie, it's my movie. Like, even though I've only put my $5 or my $10 or my $15 in, it's my movie. So I've got social capital that I can now trade. I've got conversations I can have talking about the movie and how I funded it and how I chose it, and I didn't choose this one over that. It unlocks that, which is quite cool. But I think it also, in a weird way, you've built in market research. So when the filmmakers are making the film, they already have a very strong signal that there is at least an audience. So it's not just their creativity in their head that they believe is good. They've now got a little bit of external validation, which shows that there's enough people who believe in this thing to greenlight it, which means that there's a viable enough audience for it to be in the world.
This really is a situation where you're de-risking the budget for the production, you're increasing awareness of the project, and you're getting a valuable signal in terms of what people are responding
Mm.
to.
It also doesn't have to be 1 million people. Like, what is the viable audience for a film? If I'm like, I want to make a film about cake makers in Johannesburg who also like to listen to kind of traditional Italian music while doing it, like, is there an audience of 5,000 people that want to see this movie, and is that enough backing for me to actually pull the project off? I think is also another one, because it's a different signal. I think in the funding of our movies and our content now, the risk profile is so big that I think people only bet on the sure bets, and I think that's what's filtered a lot of the taste that we're seeing, and therefore a lot of the kind of content that we are seeing. I mean,
People chase the dream of, well, if we did X, Y, and Z, then we will create a franchise of a Marvel stature or whatever. But I would just point them at Warner and DC and say, look, people with a really good head start and a lot of talent and a lot of money, even they're having a hard time chasing it. I think it's like those kinds of things that are, I think, a little outside of the mainstream right now, and projects that should be getting done, but in the current economic environment, studios are like slowing down on the stuff that they want to make. But I think that's our opportunity to just get these things in front of people who care about the topics and the artists and the creators, and want to see content created that is not put through the filter of the recruitment and retention funnels of Disney Plus, Hulu,
mm,
Netflix, HBO, Discovery. Like, it's just they're not filtering for the right thing. It's a corporate filter. It's not a cultural filter. The blockbusters are going to get made. The feature films are going to get made. The distribution's there. It needs it. But you're exactly right. The lower budget films, the indies, and importantly, the talent that cuts its teeth on those films and then
mm,
goes up, like the directors of those features and those blockbusters. If you go back and look at like where they started, it
indies.
starts with like a $500,000 film or $1 million
Mm,
film. There's a need in the ecosystem for it, and that there is a big blind spot for those kinds of movies. That's what we want, is filmmakers who want to do something different and can demonstrate why this is going to be something that people are going to be,
shit back.
it's going to whack them on the head and be like, okay, I'm thinking about the world a little differently now.
Mm,
And it doesn't all need to be serious, right? Napoleon Dynamite did that. Like it can be fun.
Yes.
It can be silly. It can be everything that makes humans interesting to interact with, but reflected in a more human and kind of less commercially motivated way.